In the late 1930s, as Europe stood on the edge of war, Adolf Hitler and the Nazi leadership believed they understood the world better than anyone else. They believed they knew their enemies. They believed they knew who was strong, who was weak, and who would collapse when faced with German power. But one country more than any other was dangerously misunderstood. That country was the United States of America. At the start of World War II, Nazi Germany did not fear the United States. In fact, many German leaders openly mocked it. They saw America as divided, soft, racially mixed, politically confused, and obsessed with comfort rather than sacrifice. This misjudgment would become one of the greatest strategic failures of the entire war. To understand why Germany underestimated America, we have to look at what the United States looked like before it entered the war. In the 1930s, America was struggling. The Great Depression had devastated the economy. Millions were unemployed. Factories were closed. Bread lines stretched through cities. To many Europeans, America did not look like a rising superpower. It looked like a country barely holding itself together. Even worse, the U.S. military was small. In 1939, Germany had one of the most powerful armies in the world. Its troops were battle-tested, disciplined, and equipped with modern weapons. Meanwhile, the U.S. Army ranked around 17th in the world, behind countries like Romania and Portugal. Many American soldiers trained with wooden rifles because real ones were in short supply. From the German perspective, this was not a serious military force. America also appeared politically divided. Many Americans wanted nothing to do with another European war. The memory of World War I was still painful. Isolationist movements were strong. Congress passed laws to prevent involvement in foreign conflicts. To Hitler, this confirmed his belief. America would never truly fight. But the underestimation went deeper than military strength. Nazi ideology viewed Americans as inferior. Hitler and other Nazi leaders believed their own racial theories. They claimed Germans were disciplined, unified, and strong, while Americans were degenerate, racially mixed, and culturally shallow. They believed a society built on immigration, democracy, and consumerism could not survive a serious war. Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi propaganda minister, often portrayed Americans as lazy and obsessed with luxury. German newspapers and films mocked American soldiers as overweight, undisciplined, and incapable of enduring hardship. To them, America was a nation of jazz music, Hollywood movies, and fast food, not sacrifice, endurance, or total war. This arrogance blinded them. Everything changed on December 7, 1941. Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. 4 days later, Adolf Hitler made a decision that shocked even some of his own advisors. He declared war on the United States. He did not have to. Germany was not required by treaty to do this. Japan had not consulted Germany before attacking Pearl Harbor. Yet Hitler believed that America would eventually enter the war anyway, and that striking first politically was the better choice. He also believed the United States could not fight on two fronts. This was the fatal assumption. Hitler thought America was too far away, too divided, and too industrially disorganized to matter in Europe. He believed Germany could defeat the Soviet Union before America became a real threat. He was wrong. What Germany did not understand was America's ability to mobilize. When the United States entered the war, the country transformed almost overnight. Factories that once made cars began producing tanks. Typewriters became machine guns. Refrigerators became aircraft engines. Entire cities were reorganized for war production. Women entered factories in massive numbers. Farmers produced food not just for America, but for much of the Allied world. By 1944, the United States was producing thousands of aircraft per month, more ships than all Axis powers combined. enough weapons to supply multiple armies across the globe. German intelligence reports warned of this. Some officers tried to alert Berlin, but Nazi leadership often dismissed these reports as exaggerations or propaganda. They could not believe a society they viewed as weak could produce such overwhelming power. President Franklin D. Roosevelt called America the arsenal of democracy. And it wasn't just a slogan. American factories supplied Britain, the Soviet Union, China, and other allies with weapons, vehicles, food, and fuel. Through the Lend-Lease program, entire armies were fed and armed with American supplies. German soldiers on the Eastern Front joked bitterly that they were fighting American trucks more than Soviet soldiers. German tanks broke down while American jeeps kept running. German pilots faced waves of American bombers that seemed endless. The industrial gap was impossible to overcome. Germany built excellent weapons, but not enough of them. America built good weapons and built them by the millions. Another major miscalculation was the American soldier. German commanders expected American troops to break under pressure. They believed Americans lacked discipline and experience. Early encounters reinforced this belief. In North Africa, American forces suffered defeats, such as at the Kasserine Pass in 1943. German officers concluded that Americans were tactically weak and easily defeated. But they failed to notice something important. The Americans learned fast. They adapted. They replaced ineffective commanders. They studied German tactics. They improved coordination between infantry, armor, and air power. And most importantly, they never ran out of replacements or equipment. By 1944, American forces were no longer inexperienced. They were hardened, organized, and relentless. Nothing demonstrated Germany's misjudgment more clearly than D-Day. On June 6, 1944, Allied forces landed in Normandy. German commanders initially believed the landings were a diversion. They could not imagine that the Allies, especially the Americans, could sustain such a massive invasion. They were wrong again. American troops poured into France. Supplies followed them in endless streams. Temporary harbors were built. Roads appeared where there were none. Airfields rose from open fields. The German army, already stretched thin fighting the Soviets, now faced an enemy with unlimited fuel, ammunition, and manpower. The Western Front became a grinding, unstoppable push toward Germany itself. German leaders also underestimated American air power. The United States Air Forces launched massive bombing campaigns over Europe. Thousands of bombers flew deep into German territory, escorted by long-range fighters like the P-51 Mustang. Factories were destroyed, oil refineries were bombed, transportation networks collapsed. German pilots fought bravely, but they could not replace losses fast enough. American production ensured that for every plane Germany shot down, 2 more appeared. The skies slowly turned against Germany. By late 1944 and early 1945, the results of Germany's misjudgment were undeniable. American forces crossed the Rhine. Soviet armies closed in from the east. German cities lay in ruins. Fuel shortages crippled tanks and aircraft. Soldiers fought without hope of victory. Even then, Hitler refused to admit his mistake. He blamed generals, traitors, and fate, but never his own arrogance. Germany had gambled that America was weak. That gamble destroyed the Third Reich. So why did Germany misjudge America so badly? The answer lies in ideology and arrogance. Nazi leaders believed their own propaganda. They judged strength by racial theories instead of reality. They confused cultural differences with weakness. They failed to understand industrial power, logistics, and adaptability. They saw America's diversity as a flaw. In reality, it was a strength. They saw democracy as chaos. In reality, it allowed flexibility and innovation. They saw comfort as weakness. In reality, it meant the ability to endure long wars. World War II teaches us that power is not always obvious. It is not just about armies on parade or speeches full of confidence. It is about factories, logistics, cooperation, and the ability to learn and adapt. Germany underestimated America and paid the ultimate price. By the time they realized their mistake, it was already too late. The war had become unwinnable, and history had already chosen its outcome.